Welcome to Catching Up with Council. I'm your host, Leah Haslage. Today we're catching up with Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland of Cleveland's Ward 5. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Leah. Good morning. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, we love having you here. Tell us how long you represented Ward 5.
I've represented Ward 5. It's been 13 years as we wrap up this year, 2018. 13 years.
Wow. And what neighborhoods is that comprised of?
The biggest part of Ward 5 is the central neighborhood. Most people know that, but I also represent Kinsman, Garden Valley area, parts of Broadway Slavic Village, North Broadway, and the Hyacinth neighborhood, which is right off of near Francis Avenue. I have a part of downtown, 9th Street going south. The 9 is actually in my ward.
Oh. So you have a lot of area you cover.
Yeah, a lot of the Gateway District, a big part of the Midtown Business District, the Campus District, and there may be a smattering of a couple of other areas as well. So I have a pretty diverse ward made up of different neighborhoods, different districts.
And a lot of residents.
A lot of residents, absolutely.
So where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Now, I grew up in Central. I'm nearly a lifelong Clevelander. I was actually born in Texas, but I've been in Cleveland since I was 4, and my father's family are rooted here in Cleveland. And so I've lived in the Central neighborhood within a 4-block radius my entire life. So I went to Cleveland schools. I graduated from East Tech. I'm a proud Scarab. Yeah. And went to Case Western Reserve, undergrad in law school. But I come from the same neighborhood. I've always lived in the same neighborhood. So I'm a Central girl at heart. But I love Cleveland. I love Clevelanders, and I love all my neighborhoods.
Did you know you always wanted to run for council? Did you want to be in politics, have an interest in politics?
Not really. I always wanted to do something to help people. And that's something I knew as a small girl even. Yeah. My friends say I was just a do-gooder, all the way back. But I really started becoming interested in politics probably in high school during the Watergate era. Watching Watergate and the Watergate hearings was really fascinating experience. And then later in college, when I started thinking about going to law school, my interest in politics really got stronger as I studied the civil rights movements and how a lot of the changes that were made were done by lawyers. Yeah. And so I wasn't necessarily interested still in being a politician, but I just saw it as a way to help people.
And then what inspired you to first run, which was like in 2005, I think?
In 2005, and actually I had thought about it by then. The Mayor Jackson, of course, was my councilman for many years, and I really admired the work that he had done in our neighborhood. I grew up in Longwood Apartments, which was a really troubled housing complex, and the mayor and some other activists were really instrumental in helping us turn the apartments around and bring in new leadership and new owners. So, and I really saw the kind of work he did, and he wasn't even the councilman then. And then when he became the councilman, I really saw how he put all those things together: his activism, his pragmatic approach to things, and his ability to relate to people, and that just really inspired me as one way of fulfilling my dream of helping people and making my community better.
That's great. Now, speaking of thriving, you have so many projects going on in your neighborhoods right now. Tell us about some of these new developments taking place.
Oh, where do I begin?
Right? I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, a lot of things. One of the things I'm really very pleased with and proud of is our community radio station. Our Community Development Corporation, Burton Bell Carr, got the funding a few years ago to a learning experience, and for a lot of people in the community, it's an opportunity to have their voices heard on a large scale, to learn new skills that they can take and go somewhere else and get into radio or broadcasting. So it's really just, it is just great.
And there's developments with various schools too, the colleges, right?
Yes, Tri-C Metro Campus is transforming its space, actually. And right now, they're rebuilding the student center. If you drive by or if you ride the number 14 or 15 bus by, you see that they're doing a lot of work over there. And what you're going to see when they're done is a beautiful new student center with glass facing that is open and inviting to the community. And it's just going to be great. And a couple of things I'm really excited about is because they're going to have a Barnes & Noble bookstore, which is one of my favorite places in the world, and a Starbucks.
That's good. Two things that college students need.
Absolutely.
Coffee and books.
And books. And not just the college students, but the surrounding community.
Yeah.
It'll be a great place to go for people. You need to get away. You need some quiet time to read or do some business. If you want to read, if you want coffee, if you want to just commune with people, it's going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to those things opening. Right across the street from Tri-C, we have a new development called Sankofa Village. It's been open now 2 years, and it's a development of CMHA, Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority. And I have to remember, everybody doesn't know all the acronyms. But what they did was, it used to be the site of a Cedar Extension, a pretty rundown public housing development, and so that was completely torn down. And Sankofa Village is it's a development of an apartment building and townhomes, and it's a mixed income development. So some residents are on public housing, other residents are paying market rate rents, and it's a beautiful development. The units are big, they're nice, they're modern, and everything that you find in any other neighborhood, and you can't look and say, well, that's public housing or that's market rate. It's all the same, and people live there together, and it's going very well, and we're preparing for the next phase of development.
Welcome back to Catching Up with Council. I'm your host, Leah Haslage. Today, we're catching up with Ward 5 Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland. Welcome back, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Leah.
So we just discussed so many new developments and opportunities happening in your neighborhood, but one of the opportunities coming through is Opportunity Corridor, and it's impacting much of your neighborhoods. Tell us about what this is and how it's going to impact.
Okay, Opportunity Corridor. This is an ODOT project, and that's the Ohio Department of Transportation. What it is, it's a boulevard being constructed that's designed to connect I-490, where it ends currently at East 55th, to University Circle. It's providing a diversion that cuts through a lot of our neighborhoods in order to make the roadway happen. And so right now, Phase 2 of the project was just completed. I think they had a little ceremony of ribbon cutting last week.
Yeah, TV20 was there.
Right, and so, and those parts of it, a lot of that work was already underway with University Circle. So really the heart of Opportunity Corridor will be Phase 3, which will be connecting, starting in the the Buckeye area, and it will go through Kinsman, the Garden Valley area, which is my ward, and then end up in Broadway, Slavic Village, in the Hyacinth neighborhood, which is also my ward. And so, the biggest part of this project is Phase 3, and this is what's coming.
In your Kinsman neighborhood, I want to make sure I say this right, you have a 28-acre urban agriculture innovation zone. What is this zone? Tell us about this.
Okay, now this is the urban ag zone has been around for a while, and we were in on the ground floor, so to speak, in the Cleveland area with urban farming, and so you see a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of urban farms now, but we were one of the first, and we just saw that this was a coming movement, and we had a lot of land, and what do we do with it in the meantime? And it was something that was really, it didn't take a lot of capital to get into in the beginning, and so that's what we decided to do. And one of our biggest and most well-known urban farms is the Ridall Green Partnership. A great business and enterprise that people come from all over the country to see. And if I could just take a moment of privilege to mention, one of the founders of the Red Oak Green Partnership, Damien Forche, passed away suddenly 2 weeks ago. And so it's, it's a really big loss for the community, and of course, to his own family. And if I could publicly just say that, to his family, that I'm very sorry for your loss, and we are all very sorry, and we will all remember Damien and all his great work. We're doing that. We also have the Green City Growers, a hydroponic greenhouse on Grand and Kinsman. And it's actually a social enterprise that was created by the Cleveland Foundation. It's a part of the Evergreen Co-ops. But the people who work there become owners of the business as a cooperative works, and they acquire equity in the business and accumulate wealth as well as getting a paycheck every couple of weeks, and they grow millions of heads of lettuce that they supply to restaurants and institutions like, Case Western Reserve, Cleveland State, around the city and the nearby area. So, a couple of weeks ago, we had a real big scare with romaine lettuce.
Yes.
Well, Green City Growers was there, and we knew that there was no threats in their lettuce.
This is kind of a two-part question. First, what do you think is the biggest misconception about Ward 5?
I think people don't recognize or realize all of the great things we have going on. We've talked about many of those, and part of it is the perception. A third of all public housing in this city is in Ward 5, in my ward, and I mean it's been that way for a long time. And again, I grew up in the neighborhood. I grew up in public housing, so I'm not afraid of it. I'm very familiar with it. I know it. Many people that I know and love grew up in public housing. So, and so sometimes people have the perception that there's something wrong with people who live in public housing or who grew up in public housing. There's a stigma attached to people just because of where they live or what type of housing they live in. And so, I would say to anybody, you can't stereotype people from where they come from or where they live or where they grew up. I'm a prime example. Again, I grew up in public housing. I've lived in the same neighborhood my entire life, and I've had a chance to see my neighborhood grow.
That's right. Second part of that question, what do you think is the biggest misconception about being on city council?
People don't understand what we really do, and that's really unfortunate, because I think if people really understood, what our day was like, and I'll just throw something out to you, Leah. You and TV20, you should, come follow some of us around for a day. Just, bring your cameras and come and see what we do. There's the legislation and policy end of what we do, and so we have committee hearings, and we deliberate and pass a lot of important legislation. The city's a $500 million corporation, $500 million. And more than that if you include the enterprise funds like the airport and the water department and CPP. This is a big corporation, so it's not, the city's not a charity. And so it's, we make very important decisions, and we have to be very mindful of what we do on that end. But a bigger part of what we do, and not more important, just bigger in terms of the time demands, are constituent services. Any council member is probably getting anywhere from 50 to 100 calls and emails a day from residents, constituents, businesses in the community, and others, asking for something from us, asking for our help for something. Whether it's resources for the community or services, if there's a pothole or a vacant house that needs to be boarded up or torn down, if there's some crime activity, or someone's looking to come to the neighborhood with a new business and they need to sit down with you, so we have tremendous demands on our time, and so you have to balance these two things. And sometimes people see, you may see a ribbon cutting on TV, but that's just the icing on the cake. When you see a ribbon cutting, we probably spent I probably spent months, if not years, working on that project,
Yeah.
along with developers and other partners. And so people, really don't see the breadth of what we do. People call city council when they don't know where else to call. People, who are homeless or about to be homeless, who have issues with their children, who are, trying to find services for their children. They need legal help. Someone's about to be evicted, and one of the things we're some of our council members have been working with legal aid on making sure that individuals who are being evicted have a right to counsel at eviction hearings. So, we're working on a lot of important initiatives as well, and there's just so much going on. But City Council, and particularly Cleveland City Council, we're hands-on. We're not, we don't sit in an ivory tower and then just come out and cut ribbons. We do a lot of grunt work that people don't see, and so I would just say that that's one of the biggest misconceptions.
Is there anything else you think viewers should know about Ward 5?
They're great communities. It's not just one neighborhood. Again, as I mentioned, there are many communities. In Midtown, we've got some great thriving businesses. A few years ago, the Health Tech Corridor was built, and there's some innovative businesses going on there you wouldn't believe. There's a heart lab that does diagnostic testing for hospitals from around the world, not just in Cleveland, not just the United States, but around the world. There's an eye lab that manufactures pupils. And again, they deal with companies and hospitals all over the world. Chamberlain Nursing School is there in the Health Tech Corridor. Just a lot of great things going on. An extensive neighborhood planning process with residents. And we came up with a beautiful neighborhood plan, for different parts of the neighborhood. And so, we're looking, how do we start to implement the plan? In the Broadway Slavic Village, we've got some really exciting things on the horizon that are too early to talk about, but I'll say this, when you look at downtown and what's been happening and the growth of the population downtown, downtown's just about built out. So where are they going next? They're looking at Broadway.
Yeah.
And they're looking at Broadway. So it's pretty exciting to see what could happen, but at the same time, there's that challenge of making sure that, what happens doesn't displace the people who are there, and the people who stayed there, the people who committed to stay in the neighborhood. So, but it's going to be pretty exciting. So, we got some things coming, and I wish I could say more right now, but
we can't get that scoop.
I can't. No, I don't want to. That would be a little irresponsible for me to do it right now. But
lastly, how can we get more information on Ward 5 if residents want to get more information on events, residential, businesses?
To find out what's going on, you can call my office, 216-664-2309. You can email us, pcleveland@clevelandcitycouncil.org, or you can go on the council website, and there's a link on the website that will allow you to email me directly. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, and people actually contact me, through social media. So if you want to know something, I would say, first of all, either call or email the office, but, catch me however you can. That's
There's
fine.
many ways to get connected.
That's fine.
Which is great. Well, thank you so much for being in studio with us today, Councilwoman. It's been a pleasure having you.
Leah, thank you so much. Thank you. I enjoyed being here, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about some of the great things happening in Ward 5 in our community.
And thank you for tuning in to Catching Up with Council. Of course, we'll have all this information for you on our website, tv20cleveland.com. I'm Leah Haslage. Until next time.